Hey Grace kids, here we are again, and we've been missing a few days of lessons, but that's okay. We're right back onto it. So today we're going to be talking about David's kindness, and really David was a kind king at different times, and at other times he didn't show his kindness, and so we're going to be talking about that and how that reflects God. But this all comes from 2 Samuel chapter 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. So if you want to read that passage after we're done, or you can pause it right now and go ahead and read it, that'd be great. But I hope you enjoy the green screen behind me. Oh, you can't tell because there's a movie, but I will have to iron it out. It's a little wrinkled. And so I hope we'll have to have more and more fun with developing these videos as we go along. But as we get into this today, we are going to be dealing with David's kindness. David showed kindness to Jonathan's son. Now, who's Jonathan? Jonathan was Saul's son, and Jonathan was the best friend of David. And he actually was going to show kindness to his best friend's son. His best friend who is no longer with him. He's died. He's going to show kindness to him. So we're going to see that. And we've got our question that we've been asking ourselves lately. How is Jesus the perfect king? Jesus perfectly rules over the universe as the King of Kings. And we'll be talking about a little bit about adoption today and how Christians can be adopted into Christ's family, just as David shows kindness to another one and almost adopts him into his own family. So lots here. Stay tuned here for what's happening. So David, he's defeated his enemies. God's helped him do this. And he's just been doing a good job as king. He's been doing what was right in God's eyes, not his own. He wasn't making all the excuses that Saul was making. And yes, he does make some bad decisions throughout his life, but he's been making victory after victory after victory up to this point. So all of a sudden, one day came around, and David was thinking about Saul's family. David and Jonathan were best friends. Jonathan was Saul's son. And he remembered how he had promised to be kind to Saul's family, that he'd take care of them. That he remembered how he made the promise to Saul that he would not kill all of Saul's family when Saul lost the kingship and David took over. And he was wondering if any of them were still alive, that he can keep this promise to show this kindness. So David talks to Saul's old servants. And he says, hey, I want to show kindness to someone from Saul's family. Is anyone still alive? So he's just asking around. He's saying, is there anybody? And the servant, yes, Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, the one whose feet were injured. Okay, so there was some issues. He had some injuries to him, and so he had some issues in life. Just how he was handicapped at this point. And so he was going to be showing kindness to Mephibosheth, the one who had some issues with his feet. So the servant told David where the son lived, and David invited him to his palace in Jerusalem. This is exciting. David's pumped about this. He's inviting over one of his best friend's sons to talk with him, see how he's doing. So when he arrived, Mephibosheth, and I don't think any of you are called Mephibosheth, and you probably never heard of that name unless you've heard of it in relation with David, King David. But when Mephibosheth shows up, he bows down to David. And he says, I am your servant. And David tells him, don't be afraid. See, Mephibosheth was probably a little bit afraid of David, and David could have him killed at any moment, just gone. And yet David doesn't do that. He says, don't be afraid. I made a promise to your father Jonathan, and I want to show kindness to you for your father's sake. He says, I will give you all the land that belonged to your grandfather. Wow, that's a big present to give. He's going to give him all the land that belonged to Saul, and he wants Mephibosheth to come and eat the meals that David, his people prepare. And so you can come to my table every day and have food with me. Basically, Mephibosheth is becoming just like a son to David. He's kind of taken a spot as a family member to David. And so you got to see the big time grace that he's showing. Mephibosheth, he bows down to David. And he says, why would you show so much kindness to me? This doesn't make any sense. And yet David is showing it. And so David says, that he's going to take all of Saul's old servants and make them go and farm the land, take care of the land. When Mephibosheth couldn't take care of this land, he's going to have all of Saul's servants, old servants, do it. And Mephibosheth lived at the palace and ate meals with David as almost like a son, because David wanted to show that kindness. How does Christ connect to all of this? You see, Christ, just as David showed this kindness towards Mephibosheth, even though he didn't have to, nobody pressured him into doing it. He didn't have to keep the promise. Okay, it's the right thing to keep our promises, but he didn't have to, and yet he did. And he brought him to his table, and it was almost like he adopted him as his own. Christ, he doesn't have to be kind to us, and yet he gave of his life for us so that we could be saved. And as one who is saved, we've become adopted into the family. Just as Mephibosheth was almost like another family member, we can become a part of God's family through Jesus Christ. So it's so important for us to be able to recognize how David was actually acting out some character traits of God here in this instance. So, some questions for us to finalize this lesson out. Who was Mephibosheth? It was the son of Jonathan, grandson of Saul. You remember that? You remember me telling you about that in the story? What did David do for Mephibosheth? Well, he actually invited him in, and then what did he do? He gave him all of what? All of Saul's land that he had before. And then what else did he do? He invited him to his table to eat with him every meal for the rest of his life. Why did he do that? Well, he did give a promise to Jonathan, to Saul, that he would take care of him. And so he is fulfilling this promise. This is important to David, that he showed this act of kindness. Why does God want us to show kindness to others? It's because we are reflecting him. And all the kindness that he's given, all the grace that he's given, we get to reflect that. We get to be Christ-like in this manner. When is it easy to be kind and when is it difficult? I think you can answer that for yourself. But when people are really nice to us, it's easy to be kind to them. But when people are just total jerks, isn't that so hard to be nice, to smile back at them, to say kind words, to be encouraging? Isn't it a lot harder for us to be able to do that? And yet we come to this instance, and this is exactly what God has done for us. When could you show kindness to someone this week? Well, that kind of goes along with our activity of today. How can you show kindness to someone else? This is your homework assignment. Pick someone, anyone in your family, anyone in the store. If you get to go to the store, maybe your parents don't want you to go to the store right now, and that's totally fine. That's up to them. They are your parents. But if you get to go to the store, if you get to go somewhere, just do something nice to someone. And let me know about it. Let somebody else know about it. Not for the applause of someone else. Not for an attaboy or an attagirl. It's just hey, I got to do something for someone. And I'm so excited to be able to share that with you. What does that mean? Why don't you just go make one of your siblings, your sibling's bed. Like for your sister, go make her bed. For your brother, go make their bed. What about just saying some kind words? What about waving to somebody as you're going down the road? Do a few kind things today. As you close out today, be kind one to another. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. I hope you see David's kindness here, and I hope you could be able to show that to others. I hope to see you soon, kids. We will talk to you later.